as you think about the nervous system, and we've talked about this before, when you are living in ventral, you can be calm, curious, connect, you can be content, but curiosity goes out the door as soon as you look at that screen.
Yes.
Unless you're curious about the news and the world, and all of a sudden, then you're doing things that are mindless. You're not doing things that are creative. But what ends up happening is we're so distracted. The distraction is actually helping calm our nervous system in an unhealthy way.
Right.
And so it's leading to a place of ultimate numbing out.
Well, and that's okay. So that's a great, like such a good point, because the nervous system wants to be regulated. It will regulate somehow. And if you find yourself numb and disconnected, it is doing its best. It's doing its job. But then we wonder why we aren't living life to the full, and we don't have joy, and we don't have peace.
I won't lose hope in the night when the fire is glowing dim. I'll just let go and I'll try. Help me walk this road and find my way back home. Find my way back home. Find my way home.
Welcome back to the Famous Sinner Podcast. It is a delight to be with you. I love the word delight. It is a delight to be with you today as we are in a season on relational intelligence, and we are talking today a little bit about screen time, portals, and how it's hindering relationships.
Oof.
Before we jump into that conversation, I just want to remind you that we have marriage coaching coming up. We would love for you to check out that in the show notes if you're interested in marriage coaching this summer. We would love to have you be a part of that. You can apply in the show notes there, and we would love to have that. Tender and Fierce is available for the fall. Get in before it gets to be too full. And field experience coming up. More on that to come. I think that's it for right now.
Good job, morning announcements.
Thank you. I like to give the morning announcements on all the things we have going on. By the way, check out famoushome.com. You can also go to the straubco.com. Check out everything that we have from leadership perspective, marriage and family perspective, all the things happening. If we can serve you, your family, your business in any way, shape, or form, we would love to be able to do that.
You're actually quite good at it.
Thank you.
The morning announcements.
Morning announcements?
In the middle of the afternoon. You're really good at serving people too, but I'm just saying.
Oh, you like my announcements?
I liked your morning announcements.
So
I would not do so good doing morning announcements.
We are here on a very hot day. Our dogs are both in with us here in the cabin because it's AC, and they are out cold, enjoying the nice.
Sweet.
Enjoying the nice.
Break from the heat
in the cool weather. So today, relational intelligence, we are talking about screens. So let me pull this all the way. I would love to be able to have this conversation from the standpoint of, we could go 30,000 foot view. There's so many directions we could go with this. We could go with it in relationship to parenting or whatever. Relational intelligence in general is how we're relationally experiencing the world around us. That obviously includes our family. It includes everything else. But it starts with us personally. It starts with, what is my relationship like with myself? Now, we could also go to, what is my relationship like with God? Last week, we talked about forgiveness. We talked about, hey, you got to forgive yourself, and you might have to forgive God. Well, the same thing is true with screens. How are we inhibiting our own growth with God, with ourselves, with the screen? Because that screen is a portal. And this is what I find fascinating about it. And I want to toss it to you, Christy, because I'd love your insight on this. I genuinely believe that it is very difficult relationally. If you can't sit by yourself alone with nothing but your thoughts for any more than 5 minutes, I think we have some deep soul work and questions to ask about ourselves. We can't stand in line. We can't sit in traffic. We can't even go to the bathroom without taking that little portal with us to mindlessly scroll on. And I think there's something that I think there's just the very thought of that. I mean, if you were to talk to our ancestors, if you were to talk to, imagine the apostles. And if you were to talk to anybody throughout church history or hey, look, we will not in 2025 have the ability to just sit still with nothing but our thoughts. People would think the world would come to an end, I think. And yet here we are, and it is very difficult. So therefore, that inhibits creativity and has a whole list of ramifications we can get into. But I just think it's important to think about it in relation to what it's doing to our own soul, but also then what it's doing to our relationship to God. And why are we avoiding?
Well, and it's become, avoiding is the word actually, because I think it is the reason we do avoid. It's the excuse, or it's like the thing we go to. But it's such a great drug, right? Yeah. It's like a constant, that dopamine hit is like, you can get it whenever you want. And it's also so seductive. Like it's literally seducing. It's not just like our kids. I think that's where we go to talk about screens, and I find everyone's like, oh yeah, my kids, the iPad, the TV, they want their phone. I'm like, yes, that's probably true.
Forget your kids.
What about you? Because it's not just the kids, it's us. And we are the first generation that's learning to do this for not just ourselves, but also in parenting. And I think that's what's kind of like the wild ride, is that this hasn't been done before. So we actually don't know the ramifications of it long term. We're starting to see them.
I think already I think it's just going to continue to go. The Anxious Generation was written last year, right? And it's like we saw that back when they started putting iPad holders in baby seat carriers. It's like, where is it going to go? Especially now with the advent of AI.
Okay, so AI, this is a whole new world, and it's a new world for me. But I noticed the other day that. Did we talk about this on a podcast
I think we
before?
did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The toys that they're creating now with AI capability to like talk to your kids, teach your kids, but like they learn your kids and then talk to them. And to me, this is like terrifying that we're actually outsourcing relational, not just education. Like I'm not against it. I know that there are AI schools now that are teaching kids. They have AI teachers. I think there's uses for it that are, there's good and there is danger as well.
Well, let me say the danger, because I think the danger goes all the way back to the source, and that is that we are created in the image of God. Mm-hmm. So as beings created in the image of God, we have to begin to think about what are we created for? What are we made for? Ultimately, we are made for relationships. You cannot thrive in life without relationships, true, real relationships. And I'm seeing things where people are saying, well, I have a true, real relationship with AI, with a robot. I just saw this the other day online, a woman who's saying, well, I've never met anybody who can, banter back and forth at some level, who sees my deepest needs, who asks me the right questions, who's always there for me. And I think we're treading into some really dangerous, slippery slopes with it. And I think you're the same way. It's not like we're saying the world's coming to an end as a result of this thing or that it's all bad.
Right.
It is, I think what we have to do is take a step back to go, what has been bad?
Right.
And what are we coming into agreement with? What are the subtle things we're becoming into agreement with? And especially as it relates to ever so slowly, just even the simple scrolling that's preventing us from stepping into the world of another, because we can't step into our own world in our relationship with God.
Okay. And so like go back to that, because you're talking about what are we avoiding? Like if we can't spend time 5 minutes alone with just our thoughts, like there is a lot of people listening that is true for. Mm-hmm. That you cannot spend 5 minutes with just your thoughts. And I think that is like, to say that in the most gentle probably way, like there is something that is rooted there that needs to be touched. And that is not, I think some people get terrified. It's like, I can't go there. It's actually, the avoidance of it is worse than actually dealing with the thing, because your avoidance of that is what is triggering the whole physiology that this thing is so bad. Like clearly we can't go there. Well, like it's like shoving something in a corner. and being like, don't look at it, don't look at it, don't look at it. All it's doing is alerting the whole system that like, this is terrifying. It's in reinforcing how scary it is. It's actually like, it's the same way you deal with, someone who has anxiety. If you take a child who has anxiety, you let them avoid the things that they're afraid of, it ramps. Like it turns up. The way you handle it is actually dealing with it head on. And I think like this summer might be a beautiful opportunity for all of us to actually check on some of these things, because I can get in some really, like, it's just a loop, right? You just get back, you get on your phone, you get doing the thing, and you just if you keep that up, the hits and the requirements for those like dopamine hits, they keep coming. But you can reprogram. Like your brain is neuroplastic for a reason, which is beautiful. Like you can relearn. I'm watching our kids right now. Like they're outside, like in the chicken coop. And there has been something like nature like 1,000 hours outside. Okay. Jenny, what she has done is created a conversation around literally just going outside that transforms not just one thing. Like it transforms so many things in your life. And I think we are like, yeah, I know that. But we don't do it. We know it and we don't do it. And here's my question would be like, at what point will you need to change? Like at what point will it get bad enough? How will you know it's bad enough that you have to put some brakes in to make a change?
And what's helped me in my own life is, and again, it's not like I've got this thing figured out by any stretch of the imagination.
Same. I'm not saying this
so,
maybe I should just pause to say like,
no, you didn't.
This is not like, this
that.
is like for me too. At what point am I like, that's too much? Because guess what? We don't have like, principal or mom, dad, or teacher being like, you're not allowed on your phone right now. Like we're it. I can plug it in beside my bed.
But what we know of, and especially as it relates to the trickle down effect on our kids, we know that the dopamine hits on kids, it's like giving a kid cocaine. Like the dopamine hit in their brain is so significant. And when you wire a child's brain for screens, it will become wired for screens. When you wire it for relationships, it will become wired for relationships. And we've got to pay attention to that. And so I'm sure if you're a parent, you have seen even that your child just losing their ever-loving mind when you turn the screen off or you take it away from them. The only way to rewire that is to add things into their lives.
Oh, wait, a-hole also. Can I just pause there for just a second?
A-hole? A-hole? Did you say a-hole? A-hole there.
A-hole. I don't know. Like, I was like,
it's like,
that,
whoa.
okay. But what that could also be when we see our kids melt down, right? Temper tantrum after taking a device away or saying no more, just know that's not always just misbehavior and them like just, that is actually, their brain can get so addicted to the dopamine hit that when you remove that from them, it flips like an addict does. So it's like, it's the withdrawal symptoms actually of like not having the next dopamine hit. And I don't think we understand like not just the damage this is doing, but how this is wiring brains to be different.
By the way, if you want to have a very humble understanding of what your child is experiencing when they lose their ever-loving mind by you taking a screen from them, imagine your spouse saying to you, would you talk to me instead of being on that screen right now? And the reaction that you have inside your body, that's the reaction that your kids are having when a parent steps in and says, you need to turn that off right now. Because it's like, whoa, what? And so it is a very, it's a thing. And so that's where I was at. Adding, did you have another thought on that? Because I think that's.
No, I just like, it's an actual brain neurochemical issue
that we have
allowed
in our house The thing that has helped
Can I just
me,
say in real time right now, the reason the kids are out in the chicken coop is because one of the kids was grounded from screens today. He's 5. His name is Micah. I'll just out him right here. Because
shame.
Public shame. He will never, maybe in 10 years he'll hear this. He won't care. I'm just saying, like, it was very clear that he doesn't do well with a screen first thing in the morning. He was getting up to watch TV. And I came out this morning and he was already in a bad attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and then it just kind of escalated in this attitude. And then I would have to discipline him and he wasn't getting it. I was like, hey bud, you've now lost screens for the day. And I don't know that when the last time I did that with him was, and it was like, wait, what? And he took it so well. And
I don't think he cares.
He
feels freedom.
Yeah.
Actually, it was what I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, so he goes, so when we came in here to do this, because they don't have a babysitter, they're just playing here. And he's like, so can I go play upstairs? And I was like, yes, you can.
Absolutely.
And we did a little bit of school work before this. And I was like, it was enough that he felt seen and attended to. And then it was like, okay, I can just go play. I was like, you sure can. But this, I'm not saying we're great at this, because actually I don't think that, like, there's been weeks where summer started and it was just like they wake up.
Yeah, we kind of got a little bit lax with the summer here. That now we're kind of
I think that's the reality, right?
Like, it's what we want to do. Yeah.
Let them just kind of. We have those days where we like watch movies and like it's not all bad. And I don't ever want to be in this like black or white camp. I just think there are times when it's like requires a reassessment and
what we're talking about, by the way, what we're talking about is TV. We're not we're not. I mean, our kids don't have phones or anything like that. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah. So. But to that said, we do have phones. And I think as adults, I'm going to go back to the thing that has helped me the most is adding things into my life that are beneficial, that I want to be productive in. And I have found that this is me personally, and I think it's very important that we pay attention to these things from a relationally intelligent perspective. And I think I want to have another conversation on this as it relates to this. Because if we're going to lead well in society, if we're going to lead our families well, if we're going to lead well in our businesses, if we are going to lead well and lead people well, we need to prioritize what makes us come alive and where we come alive, where we're most productive. And for me, if I don't have a goal in something, if I'm not doing something, if the thing that I'm doing does not have an end goal, I'm not depressed, but I get into a depressive state where it's like, I just feel like I have not accomplished anything. I feel bad about myself. This is where it's important to know yourself well, to understand. I think this helps me to not be on screens a lot, is because it's funny because I'm not one to rewatch movies that often, because to me it's pointless. There's no goal in it. Unless I'm studying a topic or something like that, then there'd be a goal. But so, for example, waking up early and not having my phone on, but reading the Bible, praying, spending time with God, working out, those things are adding into my life in a way that now all of a sudden that first hour and a half of my day doesn't even require me to be on my phone. And so it's like adding things that will help you be productive, that you know you have to get done. Do those things first. Start your day with those things and prioritize those things. Now, here's where it gets tricky, and this is where it gets tricky for you, is when you're ordering groceries, you're ordering
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Because that is tied so often to the phone that then you're bouncing back and forth. And
let me tell you what I struggle with, because I can get on the like, it's the multitasking of it, right? It's not like a singular task. Like I feel like when I first started working, I worked as a research assistant for, basically like a mental health organization, and I would sit at my desk, and I just remember I loved it because I like did one I worked on these spreadsheets basically all day, but I wasn't like hopping from thing to thing to thing. Like I wasn't like,
Yeah.
moving all these things. What I feel now is if I'm working, I'm multitasking from my phone specifically. If I'm sitting at a computer, it maybe feels a little more similar, but as it used to. But on a phone, it's like I have this app open and this one, and it's, you're moving from like Amazon buying to the grocery store to a text message to like it scatters me so much. And add in social media, which is why you don't see me post that much. I really wrestle with it. And I know I just have constant conversations with so many women who feel the same. It's like this wrestle of you want to share your life and it's just another thing, and to create content on there. And we have so many friends who are in the content creation space and like for a job, the work, the hours, like how much goes into that and the cost. Like it's a high cost. I don't mean financial. I mean on like mental, emotional, like it's draining so many resources within you. And so I just say that like we all know this, but I think we don't recognize it's become such a regular part of our life. We don't recognize the impact. I heard Mel Robbins speaking on this the other day. Just like if you plug your phone in beside your bed, which I do, and I've done it, I've also not. Like I haven't. It's like you're waking up and you immediately, go to your phone. Like the research, and I've read some of the research, when you talk about nervous system, like how you're wiring a system, I mean, we're literally programming it for anxiety. And then we go to have coffee and we amp it even more. Like it is. So I see now I get to be with, hundreds of women who are on the other side of exactly where I was, where we are anxious all the time. We are angry. We are agitated. We're irritated at everything. We feel like we're literally, just like a string that's ready to snap, and we wonder why. And there's so many things. Is underlying traumas a thing? For sure. Yeah. But I said to the women the other night in Tinder and Fierce, you hear so much conversation lately about nervous system regulation. And maybe I hear it more because I happen to be in this field, but I hope like you hear it more in culture, at least. I mean, I sure do. And I think it's because as a society, we've gotten to this place that it's not just like our underlying traumas, right? Capital T or lowercase t, whatever you've walked through, like those real hard, painful things. This is like a societal nervous system dysregulation. And I would fully blame screens. Like, yes, there's a pace of life that has then gone with it. We can do more. We're trying to cram more in. I do agree that's part of it, but I still go back to these little portals in our pockets.
Well, and I think too, as you think about the nervous system, and we've talked about this before, when you are living in ventral, you can be calm, curious, connect, you can be content, but curiosity goes out the door as soon as you look at that screen.
Yes.
Unless you're curious about the news and the world, and all of a sudden then you're doing things that are mindless. You're not doing things that are creative. But what ends up happening is we're so distracted. The distraction is actually helping calm our nervous system in an unhealthy way.
Right.
And so it's leading to a place of ultimate numbing out.
Well, and that's okay. So that's a great, like such a good point, because the nervous system wants to be regulated. It will do whatever it can to regulate. If that is numb, based on scrolling, it works fast. That's why it does it. If that's drugs, alcohol, like whatever it is, like it knows what to sugar, it knows how to regulate. It's when it gets to the point where you're like, oh, this isn't really helping me anymore. This is no longer serving me in my life. This is actually becoming unhelpful.
Right.
In whatever way,
right.
It's unhelpful. But it will regulate somehow. And if you find yourself numb and disconnected, it is doing its best. It's doing its job. But then we wonder why we aren't living life to the full, and we don't have joy, and we don't have peace. And because what it's doing, so if we talk about this portal of a screen, the opposite would be attunement to real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do we attune to our real lives? Let's go back to nature. I'm looking out this window. I wish you guys could see this view sometimes, because this is like an old, I don't know, how many hundreds-year-old garden. So that's like tree lined down here. And by just attuning to the details of nature, numero uno, we are regulating our system, because guess who created what is out there? It vibrates at frequencies that our cell phones cannot. This actually gives life. Attuning to this life is us connecting to our creator. That's why it's so powerful. 2, attuning to yourself, paying attention to yourself. This is attuning to like how you are handling, like what'd you say about like when you get lit up about something, you can't know that unless you're attuned to yourself. Otherwise, it all passes you. So you start living a life, like doing things it doesn't even bring you life anymore, because you're not attuned to notice if it does or doesn't. And then the people around you, like we are, just like we have said from the beginning, like we are created to be in relationship. We will never be able to manufacture relationship with an AI bot or even a video game on it. It's not the same thing. And I think we consciously know that, but until we consciously remove some of these, like they're really place blockers. Like they're like little blocks that have been put in place to fill a need or when it's a void. And we actually have to create the void in order to create connection, because until we tap into a place of lack or longing, we won't move forward in any type of like purposeful intention. So it's funny. It's like fasting. Like we actually have to remove things in order to create spiritual hunger. Mm-hmm. We need to remove entertainment in order to long for what? Like what is at the root of like, why am I just avoiding to begin with? Which goes back, I mean, that was your original question. It's like, what are we avoiding? We don't know what we're avoiding actually until we create enough space and void.
You have to create void to pay attention to what it is you are avoiding.
That's exactly it. And then you can start to pay attention, and you're not going to like what comes up at first, because you're actually going to start to feel some of the emotion, like the backlog of that you've been shoving down. It's no worse than it was. I think people are so afraid that like, if I tune into that, it'll take me out. I say it again, the avoidance of it is so much worse.
And I just want to say this, like all of this is paying attention to the fruit in your life, whether that is the fruit of your profession, like what you do for a living, whether that's the fruit of your family, the people in your life, or whether that's your personal fruit, like you're seeing a stuckness in your own personal life. There's fruit on your tree that you're either producing good fruit or bad fruit, and there's areas in your life that you look at and you go, this is not healthy fruit. And the only way to produce healthy fruit is to pay attention to the void and pay attention to what it is, because as Christy's talking about in this garden, fruit needs watering. It needs good soil. And what we're really getting at in your life, in our lives, is the soil at which we're trying to cultivate. And I just want to go back to this illustration that Christy's using, and I want to tie it to research for a second. There was So as it relates to going out into nature, as it relates to being with animals, there was a research study done that looked at a number of screen changes on a child's television program. And it found that Baby Einstein, this was a few years back, Baby Einstein, when that was a big show, very popular show, A Day at the Farm, they found that there were 7 screen changes in a 20-second span. And what they found was that it was creating such inattention in children that when they took a child to an actual farm, they were bored, because the dopamine, and it has gotten even significantly faster. There are now warnings on television, on children's television shows, warnings for the screen changes and the way, because what they're doing is they're catering to the dopamine. I think Coco Melon is one of those shows. I'll have to look at the research on it, but there's a number of different, I'm pretty sure Coco Melon is one of those shows. There's a number of shows where it's like, it is so rapidly fast that it's actually creating inattention in children. The only children television program that did not create inattention in children was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
The original.
The original Mr. Rogers, because there was not a lot of screen changes. He literally was looking at the camera face to face with you, the viewer, and you had a relationship as he's telling you about the fish and the fishies swimming around in the aquarium. That was my favorite part. I don't know why that was my favorite part.
You always talk about that one. I love Mr. Rogers. My gosh.
And so
you know what? You know what's similar? So we homeschool and we use a curriculum that does these videos. It's called The Good and the Beautiful. That's what we use. But for some of it. But anyway, for our little guy, his like little preschool kindergarten prep program has these very slow animated songs, basically. Like it's just one screen with like things that go across the screen, to teach like a letter sound or whatever. That kid gets hypnotized by it. And I believe fully it is because it is so calming. And that's why they create their stuff to calm children. Bless God for them. And what I notice in him is how much he delights in it. It is different. And he asks to watch it. And he's used to like, even what do the kids watch? All the stunts, all the tricks. Dude Perfect. I'm like, why can't I think of it? Like he watches that because he has bigger siblings, right? So he watches like older stuff too. And it's fast and it's loud and it's like all the time. And you turn that stuff on. He goes, Mommy, can I watch it again? And it's like, I literally watch his face light up. And I believe it's because it is so counter to the pace that he is used to in the world. And I think we assume that children want faster, more and more. And we were having this conversation about like even, I have to be careful how I say it, but like kids activities and things that are like sugar amped, flashing lights, loud music, like big, things like this. And our kids are like, I don't like it. It's too much for me. And I've heard other parents talk about their kids saying, what do I do when it's too much? Like the kids are starting to recognize it's too much for them. Like it is, and we're catering to it in a way because we think that's what they like. Like, let's make it wild and crazy. Kids actually, they need order to feel safe. They need nature. They need play. They need unstructured. Like there are so many things that are so basic. They're so free. Okay. They're so much simpler. Like we don't need like crazy even knowledge about this stuff, guys. Like it's like going back to the basics. And that's why I love, the ideas if it just like this whole 1,000-hour outside conversation and what that's actually doing.
What you made me think of is every time in our house that we're spring cleaning, or even when we sold our house and we have a room to clear out. When you clear out the entire room, the children run and sprint around it, and it is their favorite room in the house. And it makes me realize the clutter and what clutter does to a child. And I think in this conversation, to pay attention to whatever it's doing for you in this conversation, I genuinely believe that relational intelligence has to come back to understanding what are the things that are hindering our relationships.
Good, Josh.
We have a lot of functional problems in our lives, and we look at our functional problems, but a lot of times functional problems are a result of something relational. And we need to pay attention to that void. What is that void, and how are we filling it? Because I'm telling you, like a vacuum, it will get filled, okay? It will get filled with something, and it won't stay void for long unless you are choosing to do something to fill it, and with good things rather than bad things. And wow, I can get spiritual on this as it relates to, you clear out a house and 7 demons come back if you haven't refilled it, right? It's like there is something to be said, and I'm telling you, the screens, I genuinely believe more than anything else, are the thing that are hindering our ability to be able to feel freedom and see fruit in our lives. And by the way, this might not even be anything major going on in your life. It could just be this nagging sense of purposelessness, directionlessness. it like you just feel directionless, you feel purpose. Like it's just like this, same old, same old. Look, we get one time to do this journey. And I love what Viktor Frankl said. He said, live your life in such a way that if you had a second chance, you would live your life today as if you were given a second chance for it. And man, I just don't think that if I were to go back and look at my life, that I would probably be as much time on a screen. Yeah. And so there are practical ways. I think this deserves another episode because there's a lot of different conversations that come out of this. We talked a little bit about it as it relates to parenting, but I think there's a lot more conversation. We didn't get into it neurobiologically. We didn't get into it in many, many ways. It's a good precursor to having another episode on this at some point very soon. I just want you to think about what is the one thing you can do. Maybe that is, because research shows if you take your phone and your screen and you take it completely out of the room, it has to be completely away from you. It has to be completely in another room. I already know my takeaway from this episode is I'm sleeping with my phone in a completely different room.
Okay, mine too.
So I think it's going to be mine.
Pound it.
So.
Okay, so I heard put it in the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm going to put it somewhere else. I put it on airplane mode every night. I'm like, if I have it on airplane mode, why don't I just it doesn't need to be.
Okay, well, do you know why I do it? It's because I'm on my phone late and I don't want to have to get up.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like laying in bed, finishing like messages or whatever. And then it's like, so then I just plug it in.
So we have to finish messages ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
So, and the other thing too is.
Okay, like deal though.
Yeah, deal. This is what I want to do. Our next episode on screens is going to be incredibly practical. There are a lot of practical things we can be doing that we're not doing. Sequential tasking, by the way, one of those. Rather than multitasking, you talked about it a little bit. We are way more productive when we sequential task than when we multitask. We'll get into more of this later. Here's the deal. Fill your voids with things that are productive and things you feel good about in your life. Put your phone in a different room. Set certain places in the house that are safe zones. So in other words, maybe your living room is a safe zone, like you're a tech-free area where there are no cell phones, so that your kids know they have your undivided attention. That sort of thing. So you have safe, free zones in the house where everyone knows there's no phones allowed in that room. Time of day where there's no phones allowed. Could be dinner time, meal times while you're driving. Could be first thing in the morning for that first hour, last hour before you go to bed. Set those where there's no time and no space for phones. Have it in a different room. We would love to know from you. We'll put it in the show notes. Podcast questions, topics. What is it that you struggle with in this area? What are questions you have in this area? How can we address them in a future episode? We would love to hear from you. And until next week.
I'm going to not plug my phone in beside my bed.
You're not going to plug your phone inside your bed. Till next week, keep in mind the greatest red carpet you will walk is through your front door. We love being with you. We'll see you then.